Hello everyone, this is Caly. Thanks so much for being here. Today I'm combining a few older products and some newer ones to bring to you this Billow Butterfly card. It's a colorful card and we're going to start by working on our background since everything else on top is strictly die cutting and piecing. So here I have 5 colors of positively saturated inks and I'm going to blend a rainbow at a diagonal just to make it a little bit more interesting going down the card. And I'm ink blending on distress watercolor paper because we're going to be doing some ink smooshing after this, as well as applying some water droplets to get some more texture onto the panel and to really get some fun movement. So for the background, I am ink blending just a really soft rainbow because I didn't want any white in the background. We're doing a Billow Butterfly panel over the top, so I really wanted all of the background colors to be really saturated, but to also have movement as well. So I am doing a soft ink blended rainbow here with these 5 colors of Simon Says Stamp Positively Saturated Ink colors in Peony, Zest, Limelicious, Marine, and Lilac. I'm using a really soft hand because I really just need some light color in the background. And as you saw, I had to go back in with more yellow because I was a little bit too soft-handed. So anyway, I'm finishing up here with the purple, and when I'm done, I'll go ahead and clean my surface and we can start ink smooshing, which is always a really fun part of card making for me because it's the only time I kind of really get messy to make a fun and colorful background. Now, I know there are other ways to get inky and messy, but this is kind of as far as it gets for me most of the time. Okay, so to get started, I am using the same colors as I used for the ink blending of the background. I'm starting first here with peony ink, and I've tapped some ink off onto my glass board there, and I spritzed it with 1 to 2 drops of water using my distress sprayer. Now using a piece of packaging from a stamp or die, I am using that cellophane packaging to grab the ink because it's non-porous, so that ink is going to transfer onto the plastic, and then we're going to use that to transfer the ink and pigment onto the watercolor card panel. Now, as you can see, I do this a few times, and the reason why I stopped to heat set it is because I don't want it to look like a big blob of wet ink. So I want texture and layers and droplets here and there. So heat setting that previous layer of ink is going to allow you to apply a second layer or third layer or fourth layer. Just depends on what you want your card to look like. So I'm adding 2 to 3 layers of each color and heat setting in between so that I can really apply those layers of color for texture. Now I'm going to move on with the green. The green here is pretty light, which is okay too. Again, we're going to be adding some additional water droplets after this to add additional texture, so it's not too big of an issue that that green is super light. And I just want to note as well that I am wiping down my glass board and that cellophane packaging that I'm using to apply the ink between every color, just to make sure there's not any contamination of color and that the color stays crisp and true. Last but not least here, we're going to work on the purple, which is the lilac color. Again, I'm tapping it off onto my glass board and adding a spritz or 2 of water. And then using that cellophane sheet, I'm just squishing that water into the ink to mix that and get a nice smooshing of color on to the plastic so that I can transfer it to the watercolor panel. And then when I'm done ink smooshing with the cellophane, I'm going to go ahead and clean up my work surface, and then I want to spritz it with bigger droplets of water. I do let it sit for about 10 seconds, and now I'm just going to use a towel to kind of sop up that water, and you'll see those droplets really come through and apply some additional texture to this watercolor panel that's really fun. So while that's drying, I'm going to go ahead and work on the other die cutting elements for the top of the card. This is the Billow Butterfly Plate, and I'm going to cut it out of Hammermill cardstock. So we have this nice dark white panel that's going to sit over that colorful background, and you get that fun texture that pops through from the ink blending as well as the ink smooshing and water droplets. Before adhering the panel to a card base, I'm going to cut just a sliver of the watercolor panel off. I didn't want any to overhang or even show up underneath that Billow Butterfly layer. So cutting off a sliver of 2 of the sides on the bottom and right side will help eliminate any overhang that might show through. So now I flipped the Billow Butterfly panel over, and I'm going to apply strips of adhesive all around the border of the Billow Butterfly panel so that we can pop this up for some additional dimension and kind of give it a faux shaker look. These 3D foam strips are perfect for shaker cards and for going around panels like this that have a really delicate border. And it's really the perfect width because, as you can see, when I flip it over and adhere it down, you can't see any of it at all. I also add some strips between the butterfly rows to make sure that we don't have any saggy centers. I'm carefully lining it up over my card base that I've adhered this rainbow panel to. And here is the finished look of our Billow Butterfly cover plate window. It's super colorful with lots of fun texture and dimension. Now here is a coordinating die called Billow Butterfly that coordinates with the Billow Butterfly Plate. These butterflies are the exact same size and shape as the butterflies on the butterfly plate. I'm going to die cut 2 outlines using some white glitter cardstock and some butterfly bodies using some matte gold cardstock. And I'm using this Billow Butterfly accessory die because I wanted to share that it is a coordinating product with the Billow Butterfly Plate. I don't know if a lot of people know that because the Billow Butterfly accessory die was released a month after the Billow Butterfly Plate, so I didn't get to use it myself together. So this is a great opportunity for me to show you that they do coordinate. I did have a bit of a hard time applying the matte gold body to the white glitter cardstock, so I'm using my PET tool to set my butterflies on while they dry. Because it's silicone, I know that it's going to release my butterflies without sticking to my glass board. Okay, so here I'm adding some vellum accents using 3 vellum die cuts from the Leafy Sprig die. This is probably my favorite leafy stem die that I have in my stash because it's small and delicate and has quite a few leaves and can really accent any card. I adhered them down with some liquid glue, applied an acrylic block to hold it all in place while it dries, and next we're going to work on the sentiment. I'm using the CZ Just a Note note set. It comes with this Just a Note die as well as a stamp set that coordinates with the Just a Note die. So I'm using my craft pad here to weed out those letters, and I've die cut it with matte gold cardstock and I'll glue it to a vellum layer. I'm using lots of vellum because I really want the background to stay colorful and I really want that color to come through. So using vellum is a really good idea if you don't want it to take away too much from the background. Now that I'm done piecing together my sentiment, I'm going to apply some liquid adhesive on the back and apply them where all those leafy stems meet to hide where they come together. And so we have the foliage sticking out all around the Just a Note sentiment. And then I can apply my last element here with those butterflies that we pieced together. And I'm adding one at the top and one at the bottom. Then to finish the front of my card, I'm going to add some embellishments here using some clear dazzling gems. Now for this, you're going to have to use the place and score tool because the wax on this tip is stronger and you can handle these gems a little bit better as far as placement goes. I've added a few at the top and at the bottom here, and then we are done with the front of the card. I don't usually finish off with stamping the inside of my card, but I couldn't help it with the Just a Note notes set. So I've picked out a sentiment that's perfect for the inside for this card, and I'm just going to simply stamp it with some crisp black ink to finish off this card. And here is a look at the finished card. I hope you enjoyed this. If you are interested in any of the products that I use, be sure to check out the links below as well as on the coordinating blog post where everything will be listed for your convenience. Thank you so much for watching and spending a part of your day with me, and I hope you all have a wonderful day. Bye, everyone.